Hello, John.
Hi, Shrikant.
Hi, John. So I think it's 8:30 now. We can start if you're all set. Let me give a quick introduction about John to all the bloggers who are online right now. We might have more bloggers coming in. Um, Cash and John, they are blogger couple actually, and they have been traveling entrepreneur couple for more than 2 years, if I'm right. 2, 3 years. Am I correct, John? Is
2 years, 3 months.
2 years, 3 months. Okay. And John himself has traveled over 30 countries out there and 5 continents. Uh, and they go by the name Two Monkeys Travel, very quirky name on Twitter. And they're founders of Project Backpacker Teacher NGO in Philippines. I also checked your blog recently, John, and your brand name has grown into a community of travel bloggers. I think almost 20 bloggers around the world, if I'm correct, are working with you from Asia, Europe, USA, Canada, and South America. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's right. Yeah, we're going to travel vlog now.
Awesome. Um, and to everybody out there, John and Cash were the almost the first blog celebrity bloggers that I spoke to actually, and it was so heartwarming to hear you guys that you wanted to be on board. Pretty early on when other bloggers were actually not there. We had a few number that time, so really thank you so much for believing in Trapezial. And today we are a community of almost, I think the number today is almost 90 that we have reached who are doing the social media campaign. And honestly, we are quite fortunate to have you and Cash, John, on as part of our company, celebrity blogger. They are going to talk about a very interesting topic called how to pitch and work with brands when you're still a new blogger. A very relevant topic. A lot of the bloggers are trying to grow their social media and their career. So at this point, John, I'd like to open the table for you to take it over, and later on, I guess there'll be questions. I can read it out for you, or whatever help you need, I'll be here on the other end.
Excellent. Thanks, Shrikant.
Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm John from Two Monkeys Travel Group. Shrikant said we started the blog about a year ago. Although we've actually been traveling for about 2 years and 3 months. So it's pretty much our 1 year anniversary right now. And what we're going to talk about is how to work with brands when you're just getting started. So initially, when we were first getting started, the only way we were working with brands was for exchange deals, trying to get exchange deals with hotels, with tour companies, pretty much just hotels and tour companies. We weren't working for sponsorship for any products or anything else like that yet. So that's mostly what I wanted to talk about, and how to go about doing that when you don't necessarily have high traffic, lots of website views, how to kind of leverage what you do have to try and get brands to work with you. Because once you get your first one or two, that's when you can start showing a bit of a portfolio, and that leads on to the rest of them. So when we first started, we were living in Arequipa in Peru, and we had minimal views per day. We had started another side project as well called What's on Arequipa, like a city guide to Arequipa, but that wasn't really going anywhere. So what we decided we wanted to do was to start the travel blog and to be able to travel for up to 3, 6 months, 12 months at a time, just moving around and working with brands. And we had very low traffic, and our social media was okay because we'd had some exposure with some larger websites as well. But the first thing in the beginning is to figure out what is your brand, and that way you can figure out what are the brands you're going to work with. Because if you don't know your brand and your niche, then you could be pitching to brands that are going to think you're completely unsuitable. So if you're an adventure travel blog, a luxury travel blog, a backpacking travel blog, then you need to be pitching to the right people. For example, if your blog name is super budget travel, then pitching to places like the Hilton is probably not going to go anywhere. I know that sounds pretty obvious, but we made that mistake a couple of times. And at the beginning, the brands you choose to work with at the beginning could affect the brands you're able to work with later on. So even if your name is quite broad and doesn't limit you to just luxury or just budget, if you choose to go for the budget backpacker brands or just the luxury stuff in the beginning, then people might think, well, your audience isn't really selling us. The audience you've acquired from who you've worked with before isn't really selling us when you're going to work with brands later on. So knowing who you're going to pitch to is really the first thing. Secondly is thinking about what you have to offer them, because when we were first getting started, we didn't have a great deal of traffic. So it's finding a way to display value to them in what you can give them. Maybe showing how much you've grown over a short period of time so they know that at least they're going to see more views through the article later on. Or focusing on the things that you are strong at. So if you don't have the website views, but you do have a strong social media, then focus more on your social media and focus more on those statistics. And instead of showing your Google Analytics in your email to them, just say that they're available on request. So you're not hiding them. They can ask for them if they really want them. But you're pitching to them on the strength of something that you're good at, like your social media. And when you pitch to them, you're going to need to put together some kind of media kit so they can see exactly what they're getting from you. They can see exactly who you are. They can see exactly what your strengths and weaknesses are. They can see where your audience is and what your social media statistics are. So there's a lot of examples of really good media kits online. We usually start with our profile, so who we are, what we do, and then go straight into what they really want to see, which is all the statistics. So all of your social media on one slide, all of your Google Analytics and everything on the other slide if you're going to show those at the beginning. And it's something that you can just send out to them, make it look as nice and graphic as possible. So it's not just a bunch of words. When they see professionally presented information, then it makes a big difference. We actually got quite lucky when we first started looking for our first brand, because we were living in Arequipa, quite close to Colca Canyon. So what we did was we started local. We didn't think we'd be able to get in touch with big brands in other countries, so not at the beginning anyway. So we started with a hotel called Colca Lodge Spa and Hot Springs, and although they were a pretty high-end boutique hotel, they were only just down the road from us. They were a couple of hours away. So the advantage with starting local is that you can actually go and pitch directly to them. You can find their office, you can phone them up locally, and that way you can actually go and meet them face to face, which when you don't have the statistics makes a big difference. They can actually meet you, they can see who you are, they know you're a real person. So that's what we did with them. And starting local is the best way to get your first couple of exchange deals. So local companies, local tour groups, local hotels, and just try to work with them or in towns surrounding you. You don't even have to travel away from your hometown at the beginning. So when we first started, we managed to work with Colca Lodge, and we pitched to them based on our social media and also our previous articles that we had in other places, like with Rappler. But also what we did was we realized that we didn't have a really strong offering ourselves. We didn't have a lot of website views. So we've been really lucky to get in touch with the owner of South America Backpacker, and we applied to be ambassadors with them, which meant we'd be able to write for their website and produce articles for them, and that would give us extra leverage when we're pitching to companies. So we were actually able to pitch to companies with a website that had maybe 5 or 10 times the amount of page views that we had, and about 10 or 12 times the amount of social media followers that we had as well. So if you can find somewhere where you can be a guest blogger or an ambassador, then that'll help a lot. There's quite a few websites that you can do that with these days. And being able to show that you've been published in other places other than your blog shows that larger publications trust you as well. Okay, so what else did we do? So then once we started local, we've been able to work with Colca Lodge, a small ziplining company out in Colca as well. And we just did a short weekend trip away from our apartment in Arequipa. And once we had that, we were able to get testimonials from them that we would then forward by email to other companies we wanted to work with. And from there, we were able to do a couple of longer trips. We went from Peru through Bolivia, Chile, and we were able to find companies to work with us all over Peru, like Peru Hop. But at the time, we were still using we were still pitching a lot with South America Backpacker. So we were actually producing a lot more material for them than we were for ourselves. Yeah, so the important things really are start local and start small. You're going to get a lot of rejections in the beginning because people don't really know who you are if you don't have the statistics and you don't have the social media. Try and meet people in person. Try and add some kind of value to what you can offer them. So apply as a guest poster or an ambassador for another website, and eventually you will be able to pitch to bigger brands. But basically, being clear on what you can offer them is the biggest thing. And when you're pitching to them, you need a clear but simple pitch email or letter that you're going to send to them. And the important thing is to get to the point straight away. I have a habit of rambling, probably doing that. But the important thing is to get to the point straight away. So if they're reading a letter and you're going on and on for about 5 paragraphs about who you are and where you've been and everything you want to do, what they really want to know is, what do you want from them? So if you tell them within the first paragraph, like, we're looking for a company to work with us to feature in our articles about our trip to Peru or about our trip to Chile, then they'll know straight away what you're after. And then from there, the next paragraph, you can tell them exactly what you have to offer them, rather than telling them all about yourselves. And then at the very end of the email, and we'd like this from you, and they go, now I know what you want. So the other important thing is make sure you ask any company you manage to work with. It can be any company. It might take 10 or 20 tries to get the first company you work with, and it might only be one night in a hostel. But make sure you get a testimonial from them. So a testimonial, just any kind of review of them, of the work you did for them, that you can then put on your Work With Us page and in your media kit, so people can see exactly what you've done. And they can see that somebody else has worked with you. They can even get in contact with them if they want. The same as you would with your CV or resume back home if you're working for a normal job. Okay, so once you've managed to work with a couple of smaller brands, then you can go on to trying to work with some bigger ones. And at that point, you'll have a portfolio to work with, even if it's just 1 or 2 articles. When we first left, we've got our first exchange deals outside of Peru. We've been able to work with the Colca Lodge, we've been able to work with Peru Hop, we've been able to work with a ziplining company and a couple of hostels as well. And so from there, we were actually able to start pitching to people on the road as we were walking around, as we were traveling around. So we arrived in Chile, we had nothing pre-arranged. And actually our plans got changed, so we wouldn't have been able to do anything pre-arranged anyway. So we arrived in Patagonia, or trying to go to Patagonia. We found the only way to go there was on a ferry that we couldn't afford. So at that point, we had to develop kind of on the spot, like this elevator pitch, where we just walk into ferry companies and try and pitch to them half English, half broken Spanish. And if we'd had that prepared beforehand, life would have been a lot easier. So as well as having your email pitch prepared, knowing what you're going to do if you need to pitch to people as you're traveling around is just as important. It took a bit of practice, but we were able to actually get a ferry passage from northern Patagonia all the way down to southern Patagonia with a company called Navimag. Just by going in, walking in and talking to them and walking into different ferry places with a laptop in hand and just explaining who we are and what we did and finding people who could speak English and trying to get through to their marketing department. Sorry, I had to switch the microphone on for a second there. Yeah, so once you manage to work with a couple of larger brands like Navimag or someone like that, then you have a big brand name that you can actually put on your website and in your previous jobs page. So the main points are really just start off small, make sure you get your media kit clear, and know what you can offer them. But also be very clear on what you're asking from them. Because if neither of you are clear on exactly what's going to be offered, then they might not give you what you're looking for, and they're going to be disappointed if you don't give them, if they misinterpreted what they thought they were going to give you. Make sure to add extra value to what you're doing, and start off small, but then as soon as you have some previous brands that you've worked with, then just go straight out there and just apply to as many as possible that fit your niche. Because you could apply to 10, 20, 40 brands, and you might get rejected from about 80% of them. But if only one or two of them say yes, then you're already on your way to winning. Yeah, and the very last thing, make sure you get your testimonials from them, and don't be downhearted when people reject you at the beginning. They are looking for big numbers, and there's a lot of bloggers out there who have got 500,000 website views per month and 1 million social media followers. But you can always find a way to leverage what you have. Okay, I haven't got a great deal more to say, but if anyone wants to ask questions on the chat, maybe I can answer them a bit better if you've got any direct questions.
Yeah. So there's a questions tab at the bottom. So whoever has any questions, they can start asking now. The information, John, was it was really good, actually, very strategic, and also very inspiring. The way you guys started literally going door to door, and then getting deals, and you have grown to such a huge size now. A lot of the bloggers that we have spoken to, when we are trying to get the influencer bloggers, a lot of them actually they recognized your brand, and they had great things to talk about you guys. So it's very inspiring that it's a meteoric rise, I would say, isn't it? In 2 years that you're able to grow it so fast.
Yeah, I mean the blog itself is just 1 year. We were English teachers and yoga teachers before that. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions they want to ask directly, because with free speech, I tend to just ramble away. That'd be very. Yeah. If you've got any actual questions, then if you've got any just direct questions, I'll probably answer them a lot better for you.
That's right. We are waiting for questions here. Anybody want to ask any questions today? I hope the questions tab is working, because we have no way to understand. Okay, there's one. By Sandhya, do you think it is always good to pitch with PowerPoint presentation?
I've always avoided PowerPoint presentations, to be honest. The way we tend to pitch now is just with a simple email, and those emails have links through to where we want to send them. So with PowerPoint presentations, you're expecting one that they're definitely going to have PowerPoint and be able to read it, which Okay, they might have PowerPoint. Most people do, but a lot of people do everything on their phone these days as well. But ideally, I would say keep it a short, succinct email. Short and succinct isn't something I'm very good at, but that works much better. Tell them what you want straight away. Link to where they can download your media kit or attach it to the email, or where they can just view it online. And just keep the information short. And just then, it's even better just to open a conversation at the beginning. So send them a quick email asking, "Hi, we are this. We're looking to work with someone. Do you work with travel writers or travel bloggers?" And then rather than them having to read a long email, they're more likely to reply to a short one. And then once you get a conversation going and a flow, then it's seen as a bit more personal, and then you can go in with your harder pitch and the numbers and everything else.
Awesome. I think probably you might have answered this question. Did you take your media kit when you were pitching on the spot? Is somebody else who has asked that question, John?
Edith. No, we didn't. We were doing everything. We didn't have our media kit was pretty poor when we first started out. So the stuff we managed to pre-arrange through Kolka and with Peru Hop and companies like that. We'd done it all through email and quite a long pitch letter. But the stuff I was doing on the spot in Chile, that was completely unplanned. So all I would do was I would make sure where I had Wi-Fi, I just pre-opened all the pages. So I knew I didn't have to load anything. And then I would just go in and show them. Obviously, that's not the best way to do it. That's just because we were kind of like doing everything on the fly at the time. But sure, if you have a printout of your media kit or you have a copy of it always on your computer, and when you go and meet them, you can just show it to them on your laptop or on your screen, or just hand it to them on a USB. Then yeah, it's definitely better to always have those stuff with you.
I see. John, I have a question for you. I was going through a few of your blogs today, actually. I was just trying to get more perspective on your journey. I know that you guys were actually teaching English and also yoga, if I'm correct, while you were traveling. Is it if you can tell a little more on on that experience, on how exactly?
Yeah.
Sorry. Go on, please.
Yeah, I started teaching in Vietnam because when I first left the UK in 2013, I knew I didn't have any plans to go back. Go back and get a job afterwards. So
yeah.
I knew whatever I did would have to keep me traveling in some way, whether it was whatever I was going to do. So teaching English seemed like the easiest and best paid thing to start with at the time. So I already had my TEFL qualification before I left the UK, which if anyone's going to do that, there's no need to pay £400 to do it. I did because I didn't know any better. But there's plenty of places where you can get an online course for a couple of $100, and you don't need to pay any more than that, unless you want to get a CELTA or something like that. So I started teaching in Vietnam, which was actually after me and Kach had met. We met in Laos while I was motorbiking my way around Southeast Asia with a friend of mine. And we were already on our way to Hanoi to teach English. So we met and then separated ways again in Laos, but just kept in touch. And by the time I'd been teaching in Hanoi for 1 month, then I'd convinced Kach to come and visit me for a couple. And then 2 weeks turned into 7 months, and she never left. So.
Awesome.
Yoga. Yeah, we taught English for 9 months in Vietnam, and Hanoi is one of the best places to teach English because you'll get paid about $20 to $25 an hour.
Oh, wow!
Being Vietnam, a lot of stuff's done under the table. So even if you try and get a job where they'll give you a real work permit and you're paying all your taxes, chances are you're gonna have trouble finding that because the majority of the schools want to do everything under the table anyway. So you kind of get forced to do it illegally, but. You can avoid it. You can find some jobs that will do things officially. But, you can have a really good life there just for working about 30 hours a week.
I see. Was the remuneration sort of enough to fund your travel after that? Did you like save up money and then plan travel? And then is that how you grew your brand?
Yeah, well, the brand didn't exist at the time.
Okay.
At that point, it was still 2000 and early 2014 is when we left Hanoi, but we had managed to save money there.
I see.
Um, yeah, me and Kach got lucky. We found some decent schools that would do everything officially, and I worked for more of a commercial company in their office as well.
Oh, I see.
So once you've been there a while, you can find the good companies. So yeah, you can save a lot of money living there. And then we managed to save up enough to travel through India for 3 months, which is where we studied yoga and Ayurveda massage.
Oh, okay.
And then, so we didn't do any yoga teaching while we were in India. And then we went to the UK for 3 weeks, and then over to Cusco in Peru, where we pretty much entirely run out of money. So we were living in a hostel and cleaning toilets, making beds, making breakfast for people, and just volunteering for bed and breakfast. And we managed to find an old massage table that someone in the hotel had stored in a shed. And we found an old rusty wheelbarrow, and we just started pushing the massage table around town to all the different hotels, trying to find massage clients. So that's how we paid for our Machu Picchu trip and for our bus fare from Cusco to Arequipa, where we managed to get some more teaching work.
Wow, that's literally, I mean, that's entrepreneurship on the road, street smartness. And now you guys have like a community of almost 20 bloggers who are working for you. Am I correct? Around the world for your brand?
Right, yeah. Including the two of us, it's 21.
Wow.
Right now. So what we figured was, we started this travel blog for a reason, and for pretty clear reasons. You know, we wanted to be able to travel more, and we didn't want to teach English full time anymore.
Okay.
We want to be able to travel more, to enjoy it, and to work with people.
Right. Awesome. It was very inspiring and also very touching story also. I'm wondering if there are any last questions that anybody wants to ask. I think you have probably left everybody in silence. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Hello, John, by Catherine. Okay. Kathy, yeah.
Yeah, we know Kathy.
Awesome. Okay. Do you have a question, Kathy, or it's just a hello? Yes. Go ahead, please.
How many times have you been rejected? By brands or by women?
I think it's brands. Let me finish.
I mean, you do get a lot of rejections when you're pitching to people, especially at the beginning, because one, you still might be learning what your own brand is and what your niche is. Maybe that hasn't come out yet. So you're pitching to a much broader range of companies. So you expect, the more you pitch to, the more rejections you expect, really. But as time goes on, you start pitching to a more specific or focused group of companies, because you know your brand, you know your audience, and you know the companies that you can offer real value to. So these days, there's fewer rejections, but we actually apply to fewer companies. So I think it helps. Basically, as you go on, you narrow your focus to the companies that you want to be pitching to.
Beautiful. Fascinating. Great answer. Thank you, John. Thank you, Catherine, for that question. Well, I guess we have come close to our time actually. Okay, there's one more question by Catherine. How do you choose the best one though? If you want to take the last one.
The best company?
Yeah.
The best company.
How would you choose a company that you would like to run?
So first of all, you want to look at a company that represents your niche, that represents what you want to do. But as far as, I guess you might be talking about quality and the service they offer, we go through all the usual places to try and find reviews about the company, because there's no point in choosing a company that you're not going to enjoy and not want to ask about. So the usual places, really, TripAdvisor, anywhere else you can just Google their name and try and find out about them first. What can you offer? What can you best offer to them that others can't? You mean us as Two Monkeys Travel? Well, for a start, I think the fact that we're a team of community bloggers makes a huge difference now. Because one, they know that if they know that no matter where, it's not reliant on us being in one place in the world. We've got writers who are able to enjoy traveling and writing in almost every continent. So they know that there's always going to be an audience and some kind of activity going on all over the place. So being active in most parts of the world all the time and having a really broad audience as well. Because every different writer is going to bring their own style and develop their own audience. So the entire community develops a really broad audience.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, awesome. That was a great answer, John. Again, thank you, Catherine, for asking some really interesting questions. Well, John, I guess. Sorry.
Carry on.
Yeah, John, I guess if people have more questions, can they do it on Twitter with your handle, Two Monkeys Travel? Would you prefer them asking?
Sure, yeah, sure. You can send questions on Twitter or to our Facebook, Two Monkeys Travel. You can message us there as well if you want.
Perfect. So if you guys want to ask any questions to John again, to add Two Monkeys Travel, you can add a hashtag trapezial. In that way, John would know that you guys were part of this conversation. Well, John, thanks a lot for coming on today and giving this amazing and inspiring talk on your own personal life and also how to grow as a new blogger. We hope for another great webinar from you. We'll figure out the dates and all that. But until then, you guys have great traveling and keep inspiring us.
Thanks, Ricard.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care, John. Bye bye.